Go don't know.
Here, I'm obliged to point out some of the safety features here on the boat. It's not meant to scare or alarm anyone, just something we're required to do by law. Did you all check for your life jackets? Yeah? I'd be happy to know that the number of life jackets is 2 and we're wearing them. That's mainly because we work outside the boat here. Because you're inside, you're deemed as being safe, okay? Anybody scared of heights? Going up. Okay, well, good news for you. You're going up 25 metres, the rest of us are going up 115 feet. Okay? Anybody scared of water? Can't swim? Okay, well, good news for you, sir. Depth of water outside at 1.5 metres deep, but then again, so is the boat beneath your feet. Okay, so if water ever was to come on board, please feel free and lift your feet. Okay? But that also means that you're on a special class of boat that you only get here at the Falkirk Wheel. The world's only rotating boat lift. You're on a Disney boat, a Disney sink. Okay? In the unlikely event of an emergency, please obey all instructions by myself and Eddie in a safe, calm manner. We'll quickly pull the boat over to the shore side. Myself and Eddie will be the first two off to tie it up. Okay? And then we'll evacuate you if need be through one of the 6 emergency exits, which are 2 in the middle, 2 in the rear, back left door there that says captain and crew, and immediately to my rear here onto the deck there. But those are secondary exits because they have steps, okay? But if we can get everybody off, do a head count, see if we can resolve the problem. If we can, we'll get everybody back on board and continue on with the journey. But ladies and gentlemen, if we are otherwise engaged in other things, you deem it necessary that you must evacuate yourself, please get off on the same side as we've tied up against. Commonly known here in Scotland as the dry side, okay? So ladies and gentlemen, we're well on the way now. We're now moving in the reverse direction here on the Falkirk Wheel, the world's only rotating boat lift. So you may wonder what powers the wheel to make it and how it all works. And it's all down to this lovely Greek mathematician here who lived 2,000 years ago. Archimedes' theory of water displacement comes into play here at the Falkirk Wheel. The magic number, 1,800 tons, that never really changes. In both gondolas here, about 250 tons. And as we sailed into the bottom gondola here, 50 tons of water left. So no matter what the permutation of boat, whether that be one trip boat here, no boats on the other side, or up to 3 narrow boats in each gondola, the wheel will always be balanced. Balance is the key. So you may wonder, since we are moving so smoothly and effortlessly, what is making us do that? 10 hydraulic electric motors, 8 to push it, 2 to stop it, 18.5 kilowatts worth of power. So what's that in normal life? 18.5 kilowatts worth of power. So that's around 2 electric showers worth, or around 2 and a bit modern kettles worth. So not only is it super smooth, super efficient, but it's also super cheap too, because the power bill for the wheel per day is only around £10. And as you can see, as we're moving at 4 miles an hour, we'll be at the top of the wheel here in under 4 minutes. And as you can see also from around the Forth Valley, look out for wind turbines, because the lovely green energy that comes from the wind turbines is what powers the wheel. Okay. So the wheel is the replacement for a flight of 11 locks, which are still there. They're just buried underneath the tower blocks and houses about a mile in that direction. I'll be able to point them out a bit more clearly when we come back into the top gondola here. But if you'd like to learn more about the Falkirk Wheel at your own leisure, then why not buy the Falkirk Wheel guidebook? It's got some great pictures of the history of the canal, and also shows you how the wheel was conceived and then also constructed. 2 years to build the wheel, 2,000 construction workers at a cost of £20 million, to reconstitute the canals here in central Scotland, £84 million. Seems like a lot, but in the long term it's been proven to be quite the bargain, really. So I'm able to sell this book on board to you lovely people for the lovely low price of £4.95, and for an extra 5 pence I'll even throw in a plastic bag. So if you'd like one, just stick your hand up as I come through the cabin. I will get the audio presentation ready when I'm done, and just sit back and relax, enjoy the journey, and I'll see you when we come back. Thank you.
For the next half an hour or so, we'll be up here, 27 metres above our starting point on the Forth and Clyde Canal. We're now moving at 4 miles an hour over the reinforced concrete aqueduct. There's just over 100 metres between here and the tunnel, dead ahead of us. We'll go right through that and turn around before heading back and taking a look at the view that's right behind you now. You might have noticed that there are 2 tourist boats in service at the Falkirk Wheel, each with slightly strange names. Archimedes and Antonine. Did you see which one you are on today when you got on? Those special names were chosen for a reason. They're both important parts of the wheel's identity. First, Archimedes. He was a scholar and mathematician in ancient Greece who discovered something that's very important for the operation of the wheel.
Any floating object displaces its own weight of fluid.
Okay, that might need a bit of explanation. Archimedes' principle says that when an object is placed in water, for example the boat you are sitting in now, it displaces its exact own weight in water. The amount of water that moves out of the way to make room for us is equal in weight to the boat itself. That might sound quite simple, but it's actually really important for the smooth operation of the Falkirk Wheel. Each gondola, that's the big tub of water we just travelled up in, holds 250 tonnes of water. When our boat sailed in, we pushed about 60 tonnes of water. That is the weight of the boat and its fuel and all the people in it. And you can get one down at the visitor centre afterwards while you watch the wheel going round again. Another really clever part of the wheel are the cogs. You can't see them as they're inside the workings, but these huge jagged wheels and sensors stop us from tipping over as we move up and down around the wheel. When the designers were putting the plans for the Falkirk Wheel together, they were confident it would work on paper, but they weren't exactly sure. This is the first rotating boat lift in the world after all. So to test their theory out, they built a small-scale model out of Lego to see how it went. Fortunately, the principle worked and the design was commissioned. As we get close to the tunnel ahead, you'll note that we're in a rather charming landscape. At some times of the year, the pool to your left is home to herons. The canal system stretching across Scotland is home to over 30 varieties of aquatic plants, 15 species of mollusk, over 30 types of water flea, and even freshwater sponges, plus the ducks and swans. It's been known for fish to swim into the gondola at the bottom and travel up to the Union Canal with us. Of course, they displace their own weight too. And there are footpaths here as well, leading up into the woods. You can walk along these later if you like. Side of the boat as we enter the tunnel, you'll see a sign reading Rough Castle Tunnel. A castle? You can't see a castle near here. That's because we're about to travel underneath it. Well, almost. There's a Roman castle fort on the hill really quite close by. It was placed there around the year 143 AD as part of a network of military bases to the east. And the addition of the Union Canal, that's the one we're sailing on now, in 1822 meant Glasgow and Edinburgh were linked by waterways. This all meant that unprecedented amounts of trade were now possible not only between Glasgow and Edinburgh, but also with the rest of Northern Europe and the world. In the 1830s, 200,000 people each year travelled between the two cities. One operator offered
the express service in just 7 hours on swift passenger boats.
There was, apparently, a sign projecting from the front of the boat that would cut through the tow ropes of any slow-moving vessels that refused to give way. Getting between the two canals still required the use of a lock system though. A few kilometres to the east of here, there was a flight of 11 canal locks with a fall of just over 3 metres each. Each had to fill with water in turn to raise traffic up to the Union Canal so it could travel on to Edinburgh. For a time, this was the golden age of the canal, and waterways were almost the motorways of the day. But with the rise of the railways, the decline of the canals was almost inevitable. The closing of Grangemouth docks to the east of here as a security measure during the First World War heralded the start of the end, and by the 1960s the canals were left abandoned, unused and falling into disrepair. Looking out over central Scotland from a scenic vantage point. But for a moment, enjoy the canal side setting. The land around here is stunning and ready for exploration, if you're so inclined. From the visitor centre, there are 3 walks of different lengths exploring this area, including the remains of the Roman fort and the Antonine Wall. Ask for a map in the visitor centre, or you can hire bikes and make your way 6 kilometres east along the canal path to see the Kelpies. 2 majestic 30-metre high sculptures of horse heads rising out of the water. These Celtic water horses are not only a link with the mystical mythology of Scotland, but are also a reminder of the vast numbers of horses who worked on the canals pulling barges for years on end. Today we run our boats on diesel. Compared to days gone by, it means there's no horseways left by the side of the canal towpath anymore. And we can now travel faster and in almost all weathers too. You'll notice 2 more locks here. These take boats to the main level of the Union Canal, another 7 metres up, making the total height above our starting point 35 metres. This then runs as far as Edinburgh, which, if you were to sail there today, would take about 9 or 10 hours. But most people on a pleasure cruise do it over a couple of days. In fact, these locks were installed as part of the renovations to the canal system and the installation of the Falkirk Wheel. The original Union Canal ended some 2 kilometres further on from here, where the flight of 11 locks carried canal traffic up and down between here and the Forth and Clyde Canal below. And from that level, 2 locks up from here, the Union Canal stretches all the way to Edinburgh without a single lock. It's a feat of engineering and construction laid out by the canal's designer Hugh Baird in the 1820s. Despite the canal from Falkirk to Edinburgh being over 50 kilometres long, there is a fault of just 2.5 centimetres between either end, all designed without a computer. It's important to remember that we're on part of a canal network that stretches right across Scotland. And in recent years it's been growing in popularity, thanks in part to projects like the Falkirk Wheel. But there's also been a rise in the appetite from the public for enjoying our historic waterways. There are 22 million visits a year to our canals, with people enjoying the towpaths, walkers, joggers and cyclists alike. On the water, people enjoy canoeing and kayaking, and canal boat holidays are increasingly popular.
Welcome on board.
You might have wondered why we went to the trouble of creating the Falkirk Wheel. You'll remember that the 2 canals had fallen into a state of disrepair in the late 20th century, and they weren't used for transporting goods or people anymore. It might have been easier just to fill the canals in and forget about them altogether. But then, in the late 1990s, it was realised that the redevelopment of these waterways could create what became known as a corridor of opportunity right across the central belt of Scotland. And there were plenty of enthusiastic volunteers too, who wanted to see their local canal brought back to life, rather than sitting there abandoned. The Millennium Link project saw these canals repaired and reopened, and at £84 million was Britain's most ambitious canal restoration project ever. In just 3 years, waterways were dredged, including removing 300,000 tonnes of silt, locks were replaced, 9 new locks built, and towpaths restored. There were also 35 new bridges and 5 kilometres of new canal. And it's been a huge success. Canal side investment has gone through the roof, over £400 million in the first decade alone, including 2,000 new waterside homes and 100,000 square metres of retail and commercial development. And very importantly for this region, 4,000 new jobs, all from a couple of canals. It's amazing to think what that kind of investment can do. But it wasn't possible to reopen the locks joining these 2 canals. They were filled in and now have blocks of flats built on them. So a new solution was needed, hence the Falkirk Wheel. Not only does it link the 2 waterways, but it gives us a chance to celebrate Scottish design and ingenuity once again. Okay, as we're coming towards the end of our time on this level, I just by Her Majesty the Queen, although she never actually wrote it like we have today. There are 15,000 bolts in the structure, pressed into 45,000 bolt holes. And each one was tightened by hand. Like these didn't take place. But people came to visit the wheel out of their own curiosity. They came from all over the world to wonder at this architectural and engineering gem. So we started running boat trips, and the Falkirk Wheel has gone from strength to strength. And now you've visited too, and ridden this unique part of the Scottish landscape. Perhaps we should leave the last word for the time being to the wheel's designer, Tony Kettle.
The Falkirk Wheel appears to lift its head and take stock of its Scottish surroundings. It stands up proud and bold, emerging from the land as the skeletal frame of a long-lost prehistoric animal. It sits on a spine that connects the east and west coast of Scotland and says, "Scotland is whole once more." The wheel reverberates with the strength and passion, the vision and the imagination that have underpinned the very best of Scottish culture since the 1700s.
Any other questions? So when the Queen Kate did come here in 2002, she got in a boat, went across the basin here, come onto the concrete jetty, stepped up to the podium and said, "I do declare," and pushed the button, alright, and the wheel turned. But Royal Security deemed the wheel as being too dangerous for Her Majesty to come on the boat, bizarre as that may seem, but it's good enough for you, okay? And also, if she couldn't do it here, then how come a number of years later they let her jump out a helicopter at the Olympics?
It was her childhood. So she went with that man. If he had the shed, I would be sneaking in her in the shed. Talking to her and I would be like,
She weren't the only one that's gone.
Dad said Dad, did you tell the police or the dog
It's going down.
Yeah, that position there. Graham going back to
3, 2, 1.
station, I think.